She died in a room full of people who didn't look up. Asterisk, no gunshots. No cries for help. No one even noticed when it happened. She was right there in the middle of it all. The noise, the laughter, the moving plates and phones buzzing. Still, no one saw her. Not really. Asterisk, she had always been the kind of person who didn't take up space. The kind you walk past without thinking twice. Always smiling, always polite. She listened more than she spoke. She helped without being asked. She never made a scene. Never asked for anything. Asterisk so, when the moment came, it didn't look dramatic. Her eyes drifted away. Her hands stopped moving. Her body was still in the chair, but something had left. And everyone else? They kept talking. They kept scrolling. Kept laughing. Asterisk. What kind of world lets someone disappear like that in plain sight? This isn't a story about death the way we usually tell it. This is a story about being unseen. About pain that doesn't scream. About how someone can be surrounded by people, still feel completely alone. To most people, she was just someone. They passed by at work, on the street, maybe even at family dinners. A coworker who never missed a deadline, a neighbor who always smiled and waved, a friend who replied quickly, but never started the conversation. She was always doing fine, always said no worries even when there were. Asterisk she didn't. Take long breaks. She didn't complain about her workload. She brought snacks to meetings and sent polite birthday messages. Her social media looked calm, clean, simple. A few selfies, some quotes, maybe a photo of coffee with a caption like quiet mornings. Asterisk people liked her. It was easy to be around because she never made anything about herself. But liking someone isn't the same as knowing them. And the truth is, no one really knew her. No one asked how she really felt when she said, "I'm okay." No one noticed how tired her eyes looked behind that soft smile. Asterisk to the outside world, she was stable. But stability can hide a lot, especially when the person holding it all together never asks for help. Her pain didn't come with tears in public or long angry rants. It came quietly. In the way she started turning down plans, even with people she once enjoyed, in the way her texts became shorter, or how she said maybe next time just a little too often. Asterisk, she wasn't dramatic. She didn't make a scene. That's the thing, depression doesn't always look the way people expect. Sometimes it looks like someone who keeps showing up, but a little less each time. Someone who's always polite because being quiet feels safer than being honest. Asterisk, she had moments where she almost reached out, where her thumb hovered over a name in her phone. But she'd tell herself it didn't matter, that no one would understand, that she'd sound like she was complaining. So she stayed silent. Asterisk, and the silence got heavier. The world around her moved fast, and she moved slower. In group chats, she read but didn't type. In rooms full of laughter, she smiled but didn't laugh. Asterisk, it wasn't one big thing. It was 100 small moments that built up. Quiet fall. One that no one saw because she never made a sound. It wasn't a sad place. It was full of light, voices, and movement. People were talking over each other, taking photos, showing memes on their phones. It was the kind of scene that would look fun if you saw it from the outside. A birthday, maybe a team lunch, maybe just a weekend get-together. Asterisk, she sat in the middle of it all. Not far off in a corner, not locked away in another room, right there among everyone. A part of the space, but not part of the energy. She smiled when someone looked her way, nodded during small talk, even laughed at a joke she didn't really hear. Asterisk, but her hands trembled slightly in her lap, hidden under the table. She wasn't cold, she wasn't sick, she was trying to hold something in a feeling that had no name. Just wait. Asterisk, no one noticed. They were too busy talking about the weekend, about food, about work, gossip. People passed her the ketchup, asked her to take the group photos, joked about the playlist. And she did it all. She never said no. Asterisk around her, the room felt loud and alive, but inside her, there was only silence, a kind of silence that felt deeper in a crowd. Asterisk, she looked down at her hands, then up at the people she had known for years. And in that moment, it was clear no one really saw her. Asterisk, not the way she needed to be seen. It's not enough to notice that something inside her had been slowly breaking. It didn't happen like in the movies. There was no shouting, no sudden collapse. Just a breath, one that came slower than the one before it. One blink that lasted too long. One thought she didn't come back from. Asterisk, maybe her heart stopped. Or maybe it was just that tiny flicker of hope that finally gave out. The part of her that kept saying, maybe tomorrow will be different. That voice went quiet. Asterisk, she didn't move much. A glass slipped from her hand. It didn't shatter, just rolled off the edge and hit the floor with a dull sound. Someone looked toward the sound, and then looked away, laughed again, said oops. Asterisk, she was still sitting there. Her body was there. But everything else had left. Asterisk, she didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just went still. Like her presence faded without needing to leave. No one asked if she was okay. No one noticed the shift in her eyes or the way she had pulled into herself. Asterisk and asked. Just like that, in a room full of people, she was gone. Not physically, not yet. But something inside her had already walked out. Asterisk, and no one looked up. After it all happened, people started talking. Not with blame, more with confusion, shock, regret. I had no idea, someone said. She always seemed so calm. Asterisk, she was always the one asking how everyone else was doing. Asterisk, I wish I had reached out. Asterisk, they meant it. They really did. But it was all too late. Everyone had noticed parts of her. Her smile, her kindness, her reliability. But no one had looked past that. No one had asked what her silence was holding in. Asterisk, at the funeral, they shared memories. They posted nice photos. They wrote kind captions. But in all those stories, not one person could say they really knew how she was doing in those final days. Because no one had asked. Asterisk, her inbox had replies, but rarely first messages. Her name showed up in group chats, but not one-on-one. She had been surrounded by people, yet completely alone. Asterisk, and now they were sorry. They meant it. Person who needed to hear it couldn't anymore. Her silence wasn't a sign that everything was okay. It wasn't strength or peace or confidence. It was the only thing she had left when the words felt useless. Asterisk, she didn't want to make a scene. She didn't want attention. What she wanted was something smaller, but deeper connection. A hand on her shoulder. A voice asking, "Are you really okay?" And waiting for the answer. Asterisk, her silence wasn't empty. It was full of things she didn't know how to say. Full of fears that people would brush off her pain, or tell her to stay strong, or just change the subject. Asterisk, every time she said, "I'm fine," she was hoping someone would hear the crack in her voice. Asterisk, she didn't need a hero. She didn't need fixing. She just needed someone to see her, really see her and stay. Asterisk, silence can protect, but it can also trap. In her case, it became the only language she had left because no one had listened when she still had words. Sometimes, the ones who smile the most are the ones carrying the heaviest weight. They won't always tell you they're hurting. They won't always ask for help. They just keep going quietly, carefully, hoping someone might notice without having to explain it all. Asterisk, so if someone seems quiet lately, don't assume they're okay. If they cancel plans again, don't take it personally. If they don't speak much in a room full of noise, ask them gently not to fix them, but just to show them they're not invisible. Asterisk, look up. Notice, listen between the lines. Some pain doesn't shout, it whispers. And if you listen closely, you might hear it before it's too late. Asterisk, she didn't need grand gestures. She just needed one person to really see her. To see past the smile, past the silence. Asterisk, so check on the quiet ones. The strong ones. It's the ones who always say, "I'm fine." Some people die long before their heart stops beating. Her name was never loud. But her silence should never be forgotten. Asterisk, black screen fades in. Calm music continues. Simple white text. Asterisk, in memory of the ones we didn't see in time. Asterisk, if you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out.